Hey everybody, happy Thursday. Welcome to the Big Factor. I'm Ryan Tyler. He's Jack O'Rourke. He's Nick Padone back at home. Fellas, how are you doing?
I'm excited. It's Thursday. It's the best day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, how you doing?
Thursday's the best day of the week?
Absolutely.
All right, well, guys, I'm going to waste absolutely zero time here because we got a lot to talk about. Ohio State versus Notre Dame. Well, today joining us, thank you so much. It is Tyler Danburg, broadcaster for Scarlet and Gray Sports. That is, of course, Ohio State student radio station. Tyler, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Great to be with you, Nick, Jack. For those that don't know, Jack and I, we've been good friends for probably all our lives and neighbors, and we've probably hosted so many podcasts in our kitchens that never made it anywhere. But it's fun to be with you guys.
Well, I'm so sorry that you've had to known Jack that long. I've only known him 2 years, and it's been a lot. But anyways, before we get into any questions, Tyler, just tell me how excited you are for this game. You're going to be in Atlanta, I believe, broadcasting the game, of course. How excited are you for this matchup?
So pumped to have the call for the national championship with my guys Connor Shue, Austin Kroom, and Connor Canfield. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's so many storylines with this game. It's going to be a blast.
So, Tyler, one element that I did find out, got a sneak peek, is you're going to be driving down to Atlanta for the game yourself. You're not taking a flight. You're not messing around. You're going down there in the inclement weather, boots on the ground, with the car ride. What are you going to be thinking about that whole entire ride down? Like, what are the thoughts leading up in your head, creeping in before the game starts?
Well, I think the biggest thought is just how the first quarter is going to go. Also, how to deal with the drive through the mountains and the hills. That's definitely a thought that goes into mind, and when the next turn of the rotation is going to be. But I think that, like, I'm not going to stop thinking about the first drive because I think that might be one of the most important pieces of the game is how these teams start. I think Notre Dame's got to survive the first quarter, just like Texas did, to even have a shot to win the game. And if they do, this could be a really interesting contest.
How far of a drive is Atlanta?
We're looking at 8 hours, 5 minutes
wow.
pre-gas and Buc-ee's stops.
Yeah.
Little Sir Buc-ee's stop. You can't beat that for sure. But Tyler, so looking at the game itself, you're around this team all the time. You're around the program all the time. You're down there. You just graduated. Congratulations, by the way, from Ohio State. So what is the vibe? What's the vibe in Columbus right now? Like, how are people feeling about the game? Is it more confidence, do you think? Or is it a little bit of like, okay, like we have to win this one. We're favorites by 8.5 points or whatever.
Rejuvenation is the first thought, Jack, and it's confidence. I think that's one of the more dangerous things is when this campus gets its swagger back. And I think that's been the case. You're not really hearing the what if they don't lose instead of or it's not necessarily we must win. It's that we're going to win. And it's that confident optimism that the Ohio State fan base is also known for. Obviously, sometimes the fan base can be a little bit more vocal when a loss happens. But yeah, I think the vibe around campus is electric right now. There's snow on the ground. It's freezing out. So all people want to talk about is Buckeye football.
Yeah,
I want to talk about Captain Jack Sawyer. That play, we were ranking it like, where does that play wind up amongst top Ohio State, plays ever. Just talk about his kind of career resurgence this season and the impact that he's been able to make in these marquee playoff games, because it feels like he's really made a name for himself in the Ohio State community, and he's probably made himself a little bit of extra money come NFL draft time for sure.
He's played his way, Nick, into being a late first-round pick. What Jack Sawyer's done this year, the last 2 years, has been incredible. He came in with crazy expectations coming out of Pickerington North. I mean, the guy was basically made out to be the second coming of Nick Bosa before he even played a down of college football. And they threw him into the starting rotation his freshman year. He played good. Sophomore year, he started to break out. Then junior year, it was really when he broke out. But the main critique was that he still didn't really come through in the big games. Well, I think he's completely put that to bay. He's had Ryan Day's back. Ryan Day has had his back. The Day family is close with the Sawyer family. They have this really special bond and this special thing where they constantly are supporting each other. And then that play, that's got to be one of the most athletic plays you'll see, to get a solo sack, first off, which is really hard these days when you get numbers on the ball, and then to force the fumble, to scoop up the fumble, and then take it 83 yards. That play, I think the C. Grant blitz on Ken Dorsey, former Browns offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey, to win the national championship in double overtime is probably one of, if not the best plays. You got Ezekiel Elliott, 85 yards to the heart of the South. But I mean, Jack Sawyer's, whatever you want to call it, the strip score, that's got to be at least a top 5 play in OSU history.
Yeah, Tyler, I mean, when you look at this Ohio State team as a whole, and you know better than any of us calling the games, the amount of talent littered on that roster is insane. The amount of players that are going to go to the NFL is insane. Just even in the first round it is insane. If you're Notre Dame, what's your formula for this game? I mean, how do you stop Ohio State? Firstly, on offense, but then defensively, I mean, how do you get past that defense, man? The Silver Bullets are back.
The Silver Bullets are indeed back. They've dropped by almost 200 yards allowed per game under Jim Knowles since that 2021 season. Ironically enough, I think the formula for Notre Dame to win this game is to play trestle ball. Time of possession battle, not giving an inch on defense, running the football between the tackles and pounding the rock. Marcus Freeman, obviously the former Buckeye, the student of Jim Tressel, ironically might have to channel his inner former head coach to try and beat that former coach's school. I think if you can win the time of possession battle, and I don't really think it's a super relevant stat always, but it has its moments, I think the team with more possession is gonna have the advantage. But yeah, getting past this Ohio State defense is a really, really tough thing. And also, too, Notre Dame just doesn't have the manpower outside against this Ohio State secondary. I really do think, though, that one of the X factors is an Ohio guy for Notre Dame, and it's tight end Mitchell Evans. He's got over 700 yards. He can provide a mismatch. And I think Texas showed that they can expose Ohio State a little bit if they run the wheel routes too. If you get Jeremiah Love, who should be almost at 100% with another week, and then, Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, and get these guys involved to try and create some mismatches, I think that's one of the only ways you can get past this Ohio State defense, because they're just so cerebral.
And Tyler, you kind of talked too about Marcus Freeman and went to Ohio State. He's an Ohio State guy, played under Tressel. Right now in South Bend, Indiana, he can do no wrong. He's walking on water, the closest thing to it. What are the thoughts from the Ohio State camp about him? Because there's been a couple of quotes that have leaked from the last couple of years of like, oh, I made this decision. Like, I wasn't going to make the wrong decision twice about not going to Notre Dame. Is there a bit of resentment towards Marcus Freeman from the Ohio State fan base?
When you scroll through Twitter, there might be, especially after that, making the same mistake twice comment. I think there definitely might be a little disdain. I think also Marcus Freeman has done a really good job. Obviously, this is a prideful fan base. This is a prideful alumni base. And I think that maybe, what Marcus Freeman has said the last couple of weeks, especially last week, might rub them the wrong way. But also, I think, when you look at it from both sides, I think you get it. Like, I like that Marcus Freeman, he's saying it's basically not about me. It's about, and it's not about where I went to school. It's about these guys right now and where they go to school. And I think that's kind of the message that he has. He's handled that really well. I think also, too, he's probably just saying that as well because he just gets that question so many times the last 3 years when they've played each other. So I don't know if it's disdain for Marcus Freeman because he had a great career here, played on 2 national championship appearance teams. So it'll make for some storylines, though, especially after what he said the last couple of years.
And Tyler, so as you well know, I'm a Notre Dame fan. I remember playing some Jeff Driscoll versus Everett Golson games against each other on the Xbox 360. But so where I'm coming from, a Notre Dame fan, of my hopes of being in this game or sticking around or just not getting TCU'd in the national title game is that you played 2 years ago. It was C.J. Stroud against Tyler Buckner, and Notre Dame led entering the fourth quarter in the shoe because they played trestle ball. They played it slow. They ate the clock, whatever. They forced 1 turnover in that game, I think. Last year, you lose on the last play of the game. You have 10 guys on the field. Chip Trainum runs in at the end. Obviously, there was a couple of PI calls where, like, yeah, maybe Marv would have broken one for 70 yards and it wouldn't have been a PI that slowed the drive down in the first place. But I'm thinking, like, okay, like, we've been in this game one score the last 2 years. Why should I not be thinking that way about this year's Ohio State team?
You're so right, Jack. And first off, your hit stick with Manti Te'o is ridiculous. That should be banned. But no, you're absolutely right. Like I know the lines are heavily favoring Ohio State, and they've been the best team statistically in the college football playoff and in terms of the eye test. But it's the national championship. You'd have to think that both teams are going to empty the tank, and Notre Dame's going to match it. I think if this game gets into a track meet, Ohio State wins it. But there's no way that Notre Dame, the way they're coached, the way they play, the way they just pound the rock, like there's no way that they're not going to keep it close at least throughout the first half and into the second half, especially given the last 2 years. Like in 2022, I mean, that Ohio State team came in fresh up, well, not fresh up, but a couple months after that Rose Bowl. You got Jackson Smith-Njigba and C.J. Stroud back. You got a lot to be excited about. And that Notre Dame team, like quick, right off the bat, Lorenzo Styles Jr., 54-yard catch down the sideline. Now he's a DB at Ohio State. So, oh, how the turntables.
Yeah.
But I still think it's got to be like about a 75 to 80% chance that this is a one-score game, the way that these teams have gone out and played each other the last 2 seasons.
Well, Tyler, one more win for the Buckeyes, obviously all they need. And you go back to the beginning of the season, right? Ohio State, high expectations, one of the most expensive NAL rosters this year in the country. And Ryan Day and Will Howard and multiple other Buckeyes, they said this season is championship or bust. And Nick, you've said this multiple times. You go into the year with 3 goals. It's beat Michigan. You didn't do that. Ultimately, that led you to not being able to win the Big Ten championship. Well, you can still go 1 for 3, and let's just say they do lose this game. I know Jack's smiling over there about that. Do you still look at this season as a whole after blowing out Oregon, after blowing out Tennessee, beating Texas? Do you still look at this as a failure of a season, although what they've accomplished to get to this point?
I think if you look at what the expectations were coming into the year, there's a chance that you might look at that as a failure, but I don't see this season as a failure if they finish this season the runner-up in the country, just given what they had to do to get here in the first place. I mean, that Michigan loss is as debilitating as it comes, especially with everything that happened post-game. But I think what they did to rally together, to come around as a team, and to realize that they still have a shot to win this, let's go out and win the whole thing. Like that's created one of the biggest turnarounds in a 2-week, 3-week span that we've seen in a while. And I think the reason why this season would be a success, even if they do finish short, is that you look at basically they have 2 losses by 4 total points. One of them on the road in front of a record crowd by 1 against the team that would eventually be the number 1 team for the rest of the year. Then they go out and beat that number 1 team and they dismantle them by 20. They dominate a team from the SEC. They dominate Oregon, and they handle Texas in Texas, where probably 70% of the crowd was in burnt orange. And then they've played 6 top 10 opponents this year going into the national championship. So I don't view this season a failure, even if they lose this game to Notre Dame, just given the path that they'd had to blaze to get here.
Awesome. The Ohio State play-by-play broadcaster Tyler Danburg is our guest. Tyler, last one for me. Mentioned a lot about that Michigan game right there. What does an Ohio State national championship do for Ohio State Michigan as a rivalry? It's something that I've thought about a lot, because it's kind of weird that you could lose to Michigan in arguably the most embarrassing fashion in the last 4 seasons and then still win the national championship. Maybe it doesn't mean as much as what Buckeye fans were putting into it this past November. Where do you fall on that?
I think the last week in November, the last Saturday in November, still means as much as any other week in the season or postseason does, because of just how much the rivalry means. But you're right, Nick. I mean, it does go to show you that you can win the national championship and still lose to Michigan. However, I mean, that game is so important. And I think this season could be the outlier for that because of how good this Ohio State team has been in the CFP. I'm not going to say this was unprecedented because this is one of the most talented teams in the country, but it's very hard to win 4 games facing single elimination with the path that they've had, the opponents they've had, and win the whole thing. So I don't think that this season will decrease the meaning of that Michigan game. And I think the way Ohio State has handled that loss has been really well. Will Howard has talked about it. That loss is still lingering. He was talking about that going into the Tennessee game. But right now, Ryan Day's done a really good job, and he was saying this yesterday at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, eliminating every distraction, anything in the past, anything in the future, just focusing on this game. And I think that's one thing that Ryan Day does really well and has done really well. You really have to appreciate his ability to kind of alleviate all those surrounding factors. And that's what's gotten them to this point.
Tyler, well, you mentioned Ryan Day. We got to have that conversation. I'll be the one to ask it. Boy, has the chatter around Ryan Day and his job security shut down. It seems like almost completely. I mean, just a month ago, almost everybody at Ohio State, it seemed like they were ready to ship him out of there, the first bus out of Columbus. Now seeing what he's been able to do through these college football playoffs, is there any way, no matter the result of this national championship game, that the Buckeyes would ever consider moving on from Ryan Day? And from a fan perspective, can they even make an argument after what they've seen these last 3 weeks?
I don't think so, in my opinion. And again, we're on the same boat. We don't know what they're thinking, but Ross Bjork, the athletic director, has done a great job this year in his first year. He went out going into the Tennessee game basically saying Ryan Day is going to be secure. That was before they have boat raced opponents by over 50 points in the first 3 CFP games. He's 69-10. He's got the highest winning percentage of any college football coach, previous or current, at the FBS level right now at over 86.7, I believe he's at right now. He can get to 70 in 6 seasons as a full-time head coach if they win the national championship. He's the only head coach to get to 4 CFPs in the last 6 seasons. And he's to the point now where with this cycle of guys, they're not the team that Urban Meyer helped build. This has been what Ryan Day and his staff have put together, and they've gotten a lot of support too and backing from the collectives and people around Columbus. So I don't think that the Ryan Day hot seat is really a thing right now. And given what he was talking about eliminating distractions right now, that is not on his mind. Winning this football game on Monday is everything on him, his staff, and his players' minds.
Last question for you, Tyler. Going to move it away from Ohio State, actually, because you are a huge baseball guy, too. Actually, congrats as well. You just got that job. You'll be calling some games down for the Frisco Rough Riders next year in the Rangers organization. But you spent last year with Lake County, seeing our guards guys, the young guys downtown. Who is your guard to watch for, or a prospect maybe, for next season?
Oh, well, in terms of guard to watch for, watch out for Juan Brito. I love that guy.
Yes.
He was great in Columbus. He's been great everywhere he's gone, and he's so versatile. I think there was a game in Columbus it was at, and Daniel Schneemann, or maybe it was Juan Brito got hurt, and Daniel Schneemann played 3 positions. But Juan Brito can play first. He can play 4 positions on the infield, and he can play a little outfield. In terms of a captain's prospect from last year to watch, obviously what Matt Tugboat Wilkinson did last year is we're never going to see anything like that. Nobody in minor league baseball has had more Ks per 9 in a season since Rick Ankiel back in 2000, and that was after he switched from outfield to pitcher, or pitcher to outfield. But anyways, I would also say Angel Hanel. Jack, I think we were talking about. I was letting you know this stat. He had more multi-hit games last year than he had games without a hit. So I'm going Matt Wilkinson, Angel Hanel as previous captains to watch, and then Juan Brito. Have yourself a breakout year.
Let's do it, baby.
Tyler, we
That's
cannot
awesome.
thank you enough. Tyler Danburg, broadcaster for Scarlet and Gray Sports. Of course, that's Ohio State's student radio station. Tyler, once again, thank you so much for all of your time. Safe travels. Have an absolute blast at the game, and good luck, my friend.
Thank you guys for having me. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
For sure. Go
right
Bucks.
back.
Tyler.
We'll be right back on the Big Factor right after this. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan, Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone, huge thank you again to Tyler Danburg. Go follow him at Tyler Danburg on X. Hope he has a blast. But anyway, today we are brought to you, like every day, by our great friends at Fairway Ford. Fairway Ford is the biggest Ford truck dealership in Ohio. They have the largest selection of Ford F-150s as well as Super Duty trucks, and I promise you they will not be beat on price by any other Ford dealers. Please do not let a short drive to Canfield prevent you from saving thousands. Yes, that's thousands on your new truck. Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, the lowest pricing, and the same hometown level of service. Visit fairwayfordohio.com. Once again, that's fairwayfordohio.com. Now, before we jump into what we were going to about Drake, Jack, you actually have some very sad breaking news.
Yeah, we sadly just found out that legendary MLB broadcaster Bob Uecker passed away, known best by people in Cleveland for portraying Harry Doyle in the Major League movies. Just hilarious to listen to as a normal broadcaster. Even better, some would argue, in the movies. There's so many Clevelanders who whip out his one-line quips all the time when talking about one hit for the Guards or whatever it is on that given day. So yeah, just sad to hear the passing of Bob Uecker.
So this just broke on X, I assume?
Yeah, a couple seconds ago.
How old was he?
90. So he had a good life at least.
Man, that is so sad. I don't really know what to say. I almost it feels weird jumping into another topic, but
You have to, though. You know, the show does have to go on.
I guess it does. God rest his soul, prayers to his family, all that stuff. But all right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into The Big Fact. We're flipping it over. Drake has withdrawn. I put lawsuit, guys. I guess it's the correct term I should have said was legal petition. So before anybody says anything, I apologize about that. I'm not a lawyer. Sorry. But anyways, he has withdrawn a legal petition from Universal and Spotify. Of course, Universal UMG is his music label. He filed it against his own music label as well as Spotify, as I mentioned, claiming that Kendrick Lamar's diss track, Not Like Us, he's saying they artificially pumped the numbers on that. He also accused UMG of paying Apple, get this, to have Siri misdirect users to the song Not Like Us. How about that?
And the thing that shocks me the most about it is the way that Drake went about it. Because part of it, the way Drake tried to portray it at least, was obviously Not Like Us is a hit piece song about him. He's like, oh, well, you're taking away from other like up and coming artists who aren't going to get as many streams now because Not Like Us is being streamed wherever. Drake, you don't care about other people getting streams. You don't want yourself to be hated.
And the thing too is like, okay, even if Spotify and Apple did this, like people were going to still listen to the song. Like there's millions on millions of Kendrick fans everywhere. And he was gassing it up on his social. So then obviously like his fans were gassing it. So like, even in the event that Spotify and Apple helped him gas it up a little bit, let's be honest too, it was like the song of the summer. It's not like nobody would have found it or listened to it otherwise, you know?
Yeah, I will say great song. Like diss track alone, it's still like it's a really good song.
Good.
And I actually like got hip to the Drake Kendrick beef pretty late.
Me too.
Like I'm still not fully sure what started the beef. Do either of you know the exact origin? All I know is Drake's an alleged pedophile.
I think it kind of started with J. Cole more than anything else. Like I think J. Cole was just kind of going back and forth, like doing stuff with like Dreamville and then going in between them a bit. And I think like J. Cole was kind of forced to pick a side. He didn't really want to because he didn't want to get smoked by either of them in a beef because we saw how the Drake and Meek Mill beef went. We know that Drake against the right guy can deliver a good diss track every now and then. But yeah, you just don't mess with Kendrick, I think.
Yeah, lesson learned. And maybe that's why he probably waved the white flag, you know, on the drop the lawsuit or the petition or whatever we want to call it. Lesson learned, you know, let's put it all behind us now.
It would have been funny if Drake, you guys remember how Eminem and MGK had the beef and MGK released Rap Devil and Eminem's like, oh, here's Kill Shot.
Yeah.
Go switch your music genre, buddy. What if like that happened to Drake and Drake just had to leave rap because he got beat that bad?
That'll never happen because of how popular Drake is. Like when you're comparing MGK to Drake, like there's millions of miles apart.
Yeah,
just
that's
in terms
fair.
of popularity. Yeah. But I guess
Kanye switched though.
Yeah, gospel. I feel like that was
again, you can't really compare anybody to Kanye though.
He's doing whatever he wants to do.
I'm not sure if anybody really wants to be compared to Kanye though.
That's fair.
That's the fair. But okay, begs the question. I got to ask you, who in your opinion is the better artist, Kendrick or Drake?
Oh,
didn't think I was going to lay that on you, did you?
Don't do that to me. I don't know. I teeter on this because like the better artist probably is Kendrick. Like, and I think this latest iteration of drama kind of solidified that. But dude, like Drake has been around forever. Like Drake music was like a, you know, like a, what do they call it? Like a key moment. What's the word that like people use for that now?
Is it like a hip lingo term you're thinking of?
Yeah, it was just like Drake. Go ahead. You have it?
Oh, what is it? They say it's like a canon event?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Like Drake music was a part of so many canon events. Yeah, throughout my, you know, like late middle school through high school. So like, I don't know. I'll always have a soft spot for Drizzy, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. It just depends on what you're looking for. Like, I think if you're looking for like lyrics or like a deeper meaning, you're probably going to Kendrick. But it's undeniable that Drake's a hit maker. I mean, you're anywhere you go, any bar, club, in the car, whatever, just walking through the mall, you're gonna hear a lot of Drake, and rightfully so. He's got a ton of amazing songs. Anytime he gets with Lil Wayne, you know something good's gonna happen. But when it comes to the beef specifically, I mean, Not Like Us and Meet the Grams, I think both of those just killed anything Drake put out.
Yeah.
I was quite literally just listening to Better Find Your Love from like 2009 on my way here because I knew we were going to talk about this. I forgot how good of a song that was.
I had Best I Ever Had on the way in today.
Yes.
Is that going down the marginal? I mean, I had some Drake going too.
Motto is amazing with Lil Wayne.
I just love the Thank Me Later album. You got Miss Me.
Yeah.
I mean, Miss Me is like one of my favorite songs ever.
Even like more
Drake and Lil
recent,
Wayne.
Laugh Now, Cry Later with Dirk. That was a good song. The music video was sick. Yeah.
Dude, one time, you guys will like this story. This is like such a random story, but I think you guys will like it. One time, like we were, my buddies and I, this was like kind of recent, like one of my first, not really, I guess, probably like less than 10 years ago though. We were driving back from Cedar Point, and one of my buddies like isn't that big of a Drake fan, like hated that song, that one Dance. Like it was throughout the summer when One Dance was,
I didn't like that
massive.
song either.
Dude, we played it on repeat in my buddy's car from almost the whole drive from Sandusky, Cedar Point, all the way back to Macedonia. And this kid was like on the verge of a breakdown over it. And now I hate that. So like every time that song comes on, I have to change it because I once listened to it for like 2 hours straight.
What is the best? I'm trying to think. I'm going back. Like the most iconic diss tracks. You mentioned MGK and Eminem, Rap Devil, Kill Shot. I'm trying to think like who
You want my
yeah, what's your,
I love Kill Shot, like the way he just goes in on the third verse and the fourth, like it's incredible. But going deeper into it, I think if you're looking at like pure, he just came and snatched someone's soul from them. I think Nas releasing Ether about Jay-Z. I mean, he just goes hard at him for 5.5 minutes. And then the other one for me would be when Ice Cube released No Vaseline when he left NWA.
Yeah, like even like when Drake was beefing with Meek Mill. Like this dude's got plenty. I guess that's what
happens. Is that a world tour or your girls tour? That's such a
back
hard
to
line.
back. That's a good song. Yeah, I guess. I mean, when you're that famous, you're gonna have beef. But so what was like? What did he have to say about Kendrick? Like, what was his diss?
I don't even know.
That's what I'm saying. Like what? Like
I feel like nobody.
Like correct me if I'm wrong. He called Drake a pedophile, right?
Yeah.
So what did he say in response? What did he go after Kendrick for? Do you know?
He's just like, I'm bigger than you. You just keep talking about me.
So it's like a
I've got all the
thing?
It's just like the way Drake tries to do anything. Like I'm Drake and you're not, basically.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong in that regard.
Yeah, he's not. All right, we're gonna take one more quick break before we wrap this up. I do want to talk some LeBron James. You saw him on the New Heights
talk
podcast.
Joshua Block too.
And Joshua Block, we'll save him for a minute. Shout out World of T-Shirts. Hopefully soon guest. I guess he just lost something very special, but in a good way, according to Jack last night. He couldn't wait to tell us this. And I can't wait for him to tell you this. We'll be back right here on The Big Factor. Thanks for sticking around. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone remotely. Fellas, I don't know if you saw this. I know you did, Nick. I'm assuming you did, Jack. I'm assuming everybody did on Twitter, really. But, of course, LeBron James hopped on the New Heights podcast. That's, of course, Travis and Jason Kelsey's podcast. I mean, just the fact that podcast has taken over the United States. I don't know about internationally. I don't know. Are podcasts international? Like, I don't know. Are they?
Yeah, I think they made it across the pond. I don't know if they're looking at the Kelsey specifically, though. I mean, they got their soccer and stuff over there they prefer.
Very true. Well, LeBron...
That's their football.
Football,
They are football, not football. Football. Well, LeBron was on the podcast, had this quote talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. Rather interesting. Quote, "The Cavs look amazing right now. I hope they keep it going. They got an opportunity to do something special. I'm glad I was able to put on first and set the trend, and hopefully we keep it going." Nick, you requoted this with some eyeball emojis.
We keep it going, Bron. I mean, Dude, couldn't you see a world? It feels like LeBron and the Lakers have been on kind of like bad terms, despite them drafting Bronny. Like, he was offering to take like a gigantic pay cut for Rob Pelinka to add that third superstar, and he never was able to, leaving him with just like LeBron and AD. It feels like LeBron, then this year took some time away. The Lakers are spun around as a play-in team. Like, couldn't you see a world where, say the Cavs don't get to the finals, say they lose to Boston in a competitive series, and they make they pick up the phone and call the old man and be like, hey, let's have one more go around, bring Bronny too, let's just do a big old reunion here in Cleveland for a farewell tour. I could see that happening, regardless of if that happens or not, though. Like, I love everything that this Cavs team is doing. It's cool to see too, because I do think that was kind of just like a Freudian slip, I don't think LeBron really meant anything by that. Like, I think he just meant like we, as in, like he's from Cleveland, the Kelseys are from Cleveland. Like, hopefully we keep this going as far as the Cavs. So it's just so cool to see it. Like, that entire show was so good with LeBron talking to Jason and Travis. It was just great to hear those like old stories.
Listen, I'm going to be stretching this here.
But
LeBron is a Hollywood guy, right? Moves to Hollywood, plays for the Lakers. He's become a superstar even before he went there, of course. But now, he's in movies, commercials. He's everywhere, right? I mean, what's the better Hollywood ending to a film than coming back to Cleveland? And we're talking about 30 for 30s with Deshaun Watson. The ending of a 30 for 30 with LeBron James coming back to Cleveland one last time. I mean, I would buy that ticket.
Yeah, finish with 5 titles. He's sitting on 4 right now. So a 5th title, go out on top. I don't know, though. Now that Bryce is committed to Arizona, like, I could see him, like Bron said a couple weeks ago, like, he could play at a high level for 5 to 7 years. Like, who knows if any of that's true, but like, maybe he tries to play with Bryce now, but regardless of what happens, I'll forever, like, especially as the years go on and as we suffer through more Brown seasons and the Guardians getting to the playoffs and flaming out like they seem to do every year, and the Cavs, are a good team, but I don't know if they're a championship team. Like, it just makes me so much more grateful for 2016.
Yeah, I mean, well, regardless if he ever does come back, I mean, that moment will never be taken away. And in that podcast, he also said, like, of course, that's his career highlight. I mean, how could it not be? You give the city its first championship in decades, almost, but what was it, nearly a century?
52 years,
52 years, half a century. I mean, that's crazy alone. I mean, what a career for him. Would you welcome him back, Jack?
I mean, I'm not really a huge basketball guy. I don't care. Yeah, go for it.
So the answer is yes,
good for you, LeBron. Yeah, but I think Nick hit the nail on the head. It was probably just a Freudian slip at the end of the day, but when a guy took so much time out of his career to be in Cleveland, he played here for, I think, like 7 years the first time, then came back for 4, so it's probably at least 10 in Cleveland, if I had to guess. He can say we whenever he wants. He's from here, and like Nick said, they're talking about Cleveland. It's kind of a Cleveland-based podcast in the way they're all from here. We comes out really easy when you're talking about your hometown.
Still some old heads out there that claim, he's not the GOAT.
Yeah.
I'll retire with 5.
All right, we got just a couple more minutes. Jack, you wanted to end on this. Guys, when I tell you he could not wait to text us, he said, cancel the script, breaking news. I want to talk about this tomorrow. I told him we'd talk about it at the end. First
of
all,
my phone was on do not disturb, so like I come back to so many messages. I was watching Perfect Couple on Netflix with Cam, which, like, we're halfway through it. It's a series. It's like a whodunit murder type thing. Like, it's a good watch. I suggest it to people out there that have Netflix.
What's it called again? Perfect Couple.
Perfect Couple. Yeah, it's very good. So I come back though to see all of these texts from Jack. Jack, take it away.
Yeah, but real quick, Jack, before you do this, just quick synopsis so people know who Joshua Block in World of T-Shirts is.
Yeah, so Nick, do you want to take the Wikipedia first, actually? I feel like you might have a better overall standing of the origin story.
That's true. Okay, that is true. So I've been hip to this kid. Joshua Block is a famous TikToker. I've been hip to him for years now, like at least 2 or 3 years. He started off, he is, he has special needs. I don't know exactly the diagnosis. He says that there is no diagnosis, but there is certainly something wrong with him.
I would bet Asperger's probably, or something like that, just to give people an idea of what it roughly could be.
Yeah, high functioning enough where he
Yeah.
literally became famous on TikTok because he would gallivant all around New York City and he would sing that Jay-Z song, yeah, yeah, in New York. Like he would sing that in like every famous landmark around New York. Like he would do it in Times Square. He would go to Manhattan and do it. He would do it by the Statue of Liberty. So like it was cool that this like here's this special needs kid that and he would have like his quirks, like he was addicted to coffee and boba, and he like wrote a song about like how much he loves coffee and boba tea, and he would always have it with him when he was singing his songs. He was going all about the city, and he became a character in the way that he was like this kid that was showing off New York. It takes a dark turn about like a year and a half ago where he turns 21 and like almost instantaneously becomes like an alcoholic overnight. Like this guy drinks 24/7. Like
I didn't know that part of this.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. So if you look up his TikTok now, Ryan, like World of T-Shirts, like it's literally all just like him drinking, like whether it's the middle of the day, like at some pub in New York, or like late at night in a club, like he'll just be like dancing by himself, getting after it. He's gotten into the streaming world a little bit. He collabs with this streamer named Mr. Bass, Jason Itzler. I implore people to go look this character up because he has a crazy background of his own. He was one of the first people to offer an escort service online here in the United States and did some pretty solid time in federal confinement for that. So he's an interesting character in his own right. He teams up with Josh. A lot of people online are saying, this Mr. Bass character is exploiting Josh. He's feeding him drinks, using him for clicks, using him for content. I am one that believes that that's true. I think the guy's probably a manipulator. I think that he's certainly using Josh for money. Their streams just based off donations alone. They're making, $2,500, $3,000 a night. And this guy Bass puts him up in like a hotel room. And that's his payment. He gets like $300 out of the 3,000. The only reason that anybody's watching is to watch World of T-Shirts get hammered and see what he does, what kind of antics that he gets into. So that's kind of the very quick Wikipedia on the World of T-Shirts lore. I could go much deeper because like I said, I've been hip to this for about 2 years when it was normal, but about a year and a half ago when he turned 21, it took a dark turn.
Yeah, we could rename the big factor the Blockcast at some point in time if we have to. But
it's gonna have like one day, and I hope this isn't the case. Like I do hope somebody interferes and like helps with
100%,
helps this dude out. Like gets him because like he is heading down a very dark path, and like the fact that it's also public and there's videos of him like freaking out in the street of New York and like calling people slurs and like biting his hand, like just going absolutely crazy. Like there's going to be a Netflix documentary or something about that comes up from this because there's so much footage that exists because he records and Bass records everything and literally uploads it like right away, whether it's embarrassing, whether it's humiliating, like they post it.
So I don't know if you guys know the answer to this. Where are the parents?
So I do know. So I don't know about his dad. He often sometimes in his manic drunken episodes, and like I'm not one that watches these streams, but like I've tuned into one before, and there's like thousands of people in these streams. But the great thing about the internet and TikTok, kind of going back to our convo yesterday, is like people will watch these entire streams and just cut clips and post the best moments. So I catch a lot of these clips. His mom, it sounds like, unfortunately passed away when he was very little. And it sounds like that's like something that was very emotional for him, especially as someone with special needs, and maybe is part of the reason why he is such a heavy drinker. He has contact with his grandparents, who it seems like don't like this path that he's on. They don't like him hanging out with Mr. Bass because of his past, which again, I'm imploring people, go look up like what he is alleged to have done. Like it's some very bad, like Brian Kelly-esque stuff there, Jack.
Oh, yeah.
It's really
Wow.
bad. So the grandparents don't want this dude like doing all of this, but as you know, when you deal with any sort of addiction, like unfortunately, the only person, like the subject needs to want help themselves. And he's made it abundantly clear that he does not want any help. So.
And that leads into last night, I guess, where there was rumors, because I saw it on Twitter first. There was rumors that Joshua Block was going to lose his virginity last night. So then I frantically, because Nick and I both follow through TikTok and whatever, like we both see the clips a ton. I mean, there's a ton of people our age who follow Joshua Block and his story, because it's almost like you can't look away in a way. Like it doesn't feel like he's a real person most of the time, at least in my opinion, Nick. But there was rumors he was going to lose his virginity. I texted Nick. I'm like, yo, are you seeing this? Like, have you seen anything about this? And Nick was like, no, I haven't been on my phone a ton, whatever. I was like, oh, okay. Like maybe it's just like they're trying to get some clicks. And then it happened. I got a text. Nick Padone popped up on the top of my phone with a link to a TikTok. And I was like, interesting. Could just be your normal Joshua Block TikTok or any TikTok. Not odd for friends to send each other TikToks. And I click in, and the big overlay on the TikTok, I just lost my virginity, and it was the all the leaves are brown, and it was that song. And he has the face. I mean, like just the pure happiness on his face, Ryan, made me so happy for the guy.
The girl is in it too. Like the girl,
she's right behind him. Yeah,
well, she's sitting right behind him in the TikTok.
Well, no kidding when I say this, because you guys said they like film everything and like
no, they were not in the room.
So like I'm glad, like you know what I mean. That's what I first thought of. I was like, you got a sex tape release, because you guys were talking about how they record everything.
No, Mr. Bass closed the door and he was like, Josh, if you get too loud, we're gonna have to stop. That's all he said.
So weird, man.
It was definitely weird.
It is so weird, especially like and here's the weirdest layer of it, and what made me feel so icky about the entire thing is Bass's past. We know this girl was almost certainly paid to be there. Which is illegal. That's what I was
going to ask, Nick, because in this, I didn't watch the stream. I've only gotten I've seen 45 seconds of TikTok clips worth of this event, which is what we're building this off of. But from what I could tell, it sounded like it was going to happen if like people donated $700 or something to the stream, and they ended up talking it down to like $100. Like, is that not like soliciting prostitution, or am I crazy?
Yeah, dude, it's so messed up. Like the entire thing is so messed up, and like I know that like even so, like they closed. Maybe the whole thing was a bit, maybe they closed the door, Bass cut off the stream, then they came out, they filmed that TikTok because they knew it was going to go viral. We could be in the final days of TikTok. Like, I hope that's what happened. Like, I hope it was really all fake. It was a bit. The girl was in on the bit. Josh was in on the bit. Like, it was all just one big prank. Because this guy is like normally not in the correct state of mind to ever consent to something like that.
Totally.
Factor in all the alcohol and everything else that took place. The fact that this girl was probably paid off to do it and then be in the TikTok that popped off after, like, I don't know. The whole thing is just another icky layer to the world of T-shirts lore. And I'm sure maybe now something further will come out, because it seems like this, topic, this incident, and he's had plenty of incidents. It seems like this one has gotten a lot of like publicity and some steam behind it for sure.
It almost in a way feels like, I don't know if you guys were like captivated by Tiger King when we were in COVID, but like I watched Tiger King, like I read all the tweets, all that good stuff. Yep. It almost feels like if I knew about Tiger King as it was happening before the documentary was made, in a way.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does.
I had no idea how deep this rabbit hole went. I had no idea.
It's insane.
I'm so invested.
I had no idea how in tune you two were with this. I knew Joshua Block. I knew who World of T-Shirts was, but nowhere near was I as well informed as you two were.
I would just walk around my college house all day. My buddy Jimmy would walk around going, I've only been to 9 countries. So I've been stuck in the lore for a while now.
Yeah, he says like the same phrases over and over again, Ryan. So like that's one of them.
It's literally like a pull a string doll, and he has 5 catchphrases.
That's and again, like that just goes to show like he's high functioning, but there is something wrong with it. Like he like claims to be banned from Tinder. So he says, what does banned mean? Like he asks everybody that he comes across, like, what does the word banned mean? Because he's banned from Tinder.
Well, I can only imagine what would get somebody banned from Tinder, but that was very interesting. And now I'm invested, so I'm going to have to go check that out. That would be actually really crazy if you guys were right and this is legit turned into something nefarious to the extent of a documentary got released.
Well, he does seriously and you can. You joke, like, I've tons of people, there's thousands of people who joke around about it or watch it, whatever.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it is like they need to get the guy help because Mr. Bass seems like an evil person. He definitely has a past. He allegedly did some really bad things. And at the end of the day, he's someone he's probably very gullible. Like, not that it's his fault at all, but like someone has to find a way to get him away. There's Michael Quinn, who I don't know as much about Michael Quinn as I'm sure you might, Nick, because I wasn't following Josh as much around that time. But like the guy who used to kind of chaperone, if that is lightly the best phrase I could use, is trying to get him some help now, it seems.
It seems like I see all these videos of Quinn and he's like working out and stuff and he's like trying to get Josh to I don't know. He's just another base to me. Like,
okay.
Honestly, I think like Michael Quinn might have something wrong with him himself. Like I don't think he has Josh's best interest at bay either. Like, he's definitely profiting off of him. Like, I think Quinn is the one, like, kind of like the business mind, if you even really want to call it that, behind like the tours that he does around New York City that people pay $30 for. Like, I think he does the merch store, like the World of T-shirts. Like, I think that's all based. And I'm sure that means all that money is going to, that's all Quinn. And I bet all that money's going to Quinn as well. So it probably does need to be like a neutral third party, not Michael Quinn, not Mr. Based. It would be awesome if it was like Josh's grandparents, but it seems like he doesn't really listen to them that much. So I don't know. It seems like it's heading for an unfortunate finale. I hope not. And if TikTok stays around, it's one of the definitely like must-watch characters to keep up with on there.
He also, according to himself at least, he is just as big on Instagram Reels as TikTok. So you can also he will
despite
be on Instagram
having
Reels.
like 750,000 less followers on there, and he doesn't post nearly as consistent.
Well, Jack, keep us updated if he hops on Red Notes. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll make the pitch too, Josh. If you need some help, we got some nice people around here. Come.
No, like
he says that he doesn't
aside,
need help. Right. He's like I'm not an alcoholic. I just like to drink.
Yeah, he's like I can stop whenever.
It's like no, you can't.
That's like Nick when you're talking about Michael Jordan. Guys, he's not a gambling addict. He's just a fierce competitor.
Yeah,
he just loves competing and winning so much.
All right,
with Coors Lights.
We got to head out of here. Once again, huge thank you to Tyler Danburg for joining us, talking Ohio State, Notre Dame. Go follow him, Tyler Danburg on X. Rest in peace, man, to Bob Uecker. Yeah. That's very sad. Joshua Block, if you're listening, World of T-shirts. Didn't expect to talk about that for 20 minutes, but seriously, like, hope everything's well, man.
Blockcast, baby.
I hope we can get him on the show one day. That would be incredible. But thank you all for tuning in. Shout out to Fairway Forward. Shout out to Garage Beer. Shout out to you, Jack. Shout out to you, Nick. And
shout out to you, Ryan.
I needed that.
By the way, if anyone's paying attention, at Big Play Sports Network on TikTok, as TikTok is still around, it seems, the next couple of days, had a nice little video, a clip of our show on, I think it was Tuesday. Ryan got 80K views on TikTok.
Yeah, so I guess literary references to classics are more popular than you would think. So shout out to everyone. Follow TikTok at Big Play Sports.
At Big Play Sports Network.
At Big Play Sports Network. Follow us, obviously, at The Big Factor. We will be back tomorrow, same time slot. Nick, you join us tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. I think I'll be on.
All right. I'm not going to spoil it, but LeBron James, potentially another topic tomorrow. Forming his own league, maybe. We're going to talk about that. Rumors. Way more, as well as we got to predict the playoff games, guys. Yeah. Monday's show, they're going to be over. All right, thanks everyone for tuning in once again on The Big Factor. We will see you guys tomorrow.